Let's talk about Misfits, the tactical stacking game, an upcoming dexterity game that's hitting crowdfunding very soon. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald. In this episode, we're going to preview a game that's coming to crowdfunding very soon, a dexterity game. And you know I love dexterity games. This is a stacking game called Misfits, the tactical stacking game. And the cover of the box shows what the pieces look like. This game is absolutely crazy once you start playing it. It's a game for between 2 and 4 players. It's a simple dexterity game. Kids age 6 and up can figure this one out. Games take about half an hour to play. They might be much shorter or much longer, depending on how dexterous you are when you place these pieces. Let's take a deeper look at Misfits, which is being published independently by Andrew Newman. Misfits is a light game. It's a dexterity game. It's a stacking game. It's super light. In fact, the rules are printed on the back of the box. There's really nothing to it. Look at these beautiful pieces, though. They're super smooth and they have a nice weight to them. They're just right, and they're such weird shapes that balancing them is quite challenging, fun, and very funny. Luckily, now when I opened up the box, first of all, I was shocked by these pieces and how gorgeous they are. And immediately I thought, how am I ever going to put this away? But thankfully, the bottom of the box has the shapes printed on it. So it makes it into a puzzle, but it's a puzzle that's actually possible to solve. Thank goodness. So it's a light game, and how do you win this light stacking game? Well, you want to be the first one to get rid of your pieces, to stack your pieces onto whatever the construction is that you're building in the middle of the table. So you play a piece. If you knock pieces off, you have to take those pieces, and that's going to, of course, increase the number of pieces in front of you and slow down your game. So this is a very simple stacking game, but it starts by randomly distributing the pieces. Each player is going to have 10 of these wooden pieces. The one rule for dividing them up is that there's a limited number of these cubes. There's no rectangular pieces. Like the closest thing to a rectangle maybe is this cylinder, but this is going to roll around if you try to place it. Lots of triangles and hexagons and, as I said, crazy shapes. This one over here is called the ghost, and this was one of our favorites because of the crazy things that you can and the ways that you can balance it. Partly because you can stick those cylinders, it's just the right size to put the cylinders in, and then you can maybe balance something in between. But even the holes here in the ghost's eyes are not even. So you really do have to work to do that balancing act. So you'll start with 10 pieces. The starting player is just going to put one on the table somehow, and then you've got to balance your pieces on there. Each turn just involves taking one of your pieces and placing them on the construction. Only the base is allowed to touch the table unless you've got a piece like this one that fits inside another piece. So then this, of course, if this is the base, this cylinder is going to be touching the table, but that's okay because it's inside this other piece. So you take a piece, you add it to the stack. If parts fall off, you take those parts into your hand. First player to get rid of their pieces is going to be the winner, and that is the game of Misfits. This is, of course, a game when we're talking about skills that these kinds of games allow you to practice. It's a dexterity game. So what are you practicing? It's motor dexterity. It's visual motor dexterity is what we're talking about. It's that hand-eye coordination which is required in order to balance these crazy pieces on your tower that you're building. The other thing, though, that's happening here, and I think I've talked about this before with regard to other dexterity games, is that these games require some self-regulation. If you think about, and often when I'm playing these, I'm thinking about, well, what am I doing right now? Well, whenever I play a game, I want to think about the skills that I'm practicing while I'm playing them. But when you're playing these dexterity games, you're doing a lot of things that therapists try to teach their clients to do. You have to have some body awareness. You have to be aware of your body and what's happening inside of you. You want to make sure that you're not too shaky or trembly. You have to control your breathing when you're going to be adding pieces, especially these crazy pieces, to that construction tower. You're going to have to really have some self-control. And you can't be too impulsive. You'll get immediate feedback if you're moving too fast or if you're not being very careful, because things are going to fall off the tower that you're building. So you're talking about breath control, body awareness, self-regulation. These are all skills that we as therapists try to help people to practice in order to manage their emotional reactions in tough situations. So here's a game that practices all of those things. And then you might have to deal with the disappointment or frustration of pieces falling off so that you're losing the game. Final thoughts about Misfits. Well, if you like dexterity games, this is a perfect game. Like how could it be better? You've got a box that fits on these cube shelves that lots of people have to store all of their board games, but the pieces inside are gorgeous. They're smooth, they have a good weight, but just the way they're designed and how everything fits together just creates such a crazy excellent game. And like the pieces are almost too smooth because they'll slide off of one another. But just the way that this thing is designed and the balance that's required, and I'm sure I haven't edited this video yet as I'm recording it, of course, but I'm sure you're going to see lots of pictures of the towers we created as we played this game. But it's a game with amazing table presence. How can you not stop to look when you're watching somebody place one of these crazy things onto a tower that's getting very wobbly as it goes up? There's going to be cheers and there's trash talk around the table as you're playing. And the way that we played this thing, it's so rules light. You can almost put whatever structure you want onto it. So at first we did just distribute pieces randomly. And then we tried a draft, and that was okay. But the best way we found to play this game, well, we did a draft, but we were drafting for the player beside us. So we were trying to pick the worst, biggest, hardest to place piece, and that's what we were giving to the other players. But then, of course, we were going to get a bad one after that. So for us, that was a great way to play it because we'd be laughing even before we started playing the game. Oh, you've got the ghost. What are you going to do about that? Oh, you've got like 25 of these. Well, not 25. There's not that many. You've got a whole bunch of these cylinders. You're only going to be playing with 10 pieces, but these things can be easy to balance if you're able to find a flat surface with enough space on it, but everything else is going to be twisting and turning as you add these things. So even putting away the game and how often does that happen? Putting away the game is fun. It's a little puzzle that you're trying to solve. You've got, as I said, the outline is there for you, which makes it doable. If it weren't for the outlines, I I don't think this game would ever go back in the box, but everything fits perfectly. Nothing wobbles around too much. You've got a cloud, you've got these cylinders, you've got a ghost, you've got this round donut piece that fits inside the other ones. We had such a great time playing this game, and as I said, it started out pretty serious, but soon we were placing these pieces in a way that let's just see the craziest thing that we can do. And well, you can see from the pictures that we did wind up making some pretty crazy moves. What a lot of fun. I can't, you don't, here's another thing. It's a stacking game where you don't automatically lose if you knock something off the tower. Even if the whole tower falls down, you're just going to wind up taking all of those pieces and then the next player gets to start from scratch. I mean, let's be honest, if you wind up taking a lot of pieces, you probably aren't going to win the game, but it's not an immediate loss. You're actually winning. You're not losing and allowing the other players to win the game necessarily. So, unlike some other stacking games where the first person to knock things down is the loser, here's one where, well, there's a penalty for knocking things off, but you're not automatically out of the game. I spent a long time trying to think of is there a downside to this game, Misfits, the tactical stacking game, and I mean, maybe if you don't like dexterity games, it's not going to win you over, but it might. And I say that because just the pieces are so silly and crazy, and the things that you build are so ridiculous that maybe even folks who don't like dexterity games, stacking games very much, might be won over by this game. Just the sheer table presence and the sensory experience of playing with these pieces might be enough to win someone over who's not enthusiastic about dexterity. But look, this is what a perfect stacking game. I don't need another stacking game in my collection. Misfits fits the bill in every single way. So I will, of course, put a link to the crowdfunding campaign in the show notes of the video. But if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment section below, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are already up there. Brains on Games is the X handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.